is that very perceptible, and how important is that, do you think, to the craft?
Timing is almost everything, I think, in conducting. Whether you're talking about pacing your rehearsal time, which you don't get much here in the UK. You get a different kind of time in the United States and Germany because they work on a different orchestral setting time. And the pacing of the piece, the metronome marking, is incredible. It's something that we're always thinking about as conductors, and you must always think about.
Tempo is a thing that conveys the energy of what you're trying to say. So if you think about punk music, and if you think about a crowd watching a punk band and the way that they're moving, and there's a direct correlation between the lyrical content and the tempo. So you couldn't, for example, the Clash song, the White Riot, I Wanna Riot, I Wanna Riot, you couldn't do that at like 40 BPM because the song's just going to be instantly redundant. If the message is urgent, then it needs an urgent tempo, like you're trying to get somewhere very, very quickly.
And we were talking about Shostakovich's 15th Symphony, which is his last symphony, and how difficult it is to pick an appropriate tempo for this, because it sets the entire atmosphere of a piece. I mean, you think of something that's adagio, and you're in a completely different creative space. The orchestra sounds different playing adagio than it would sounding a presto. So I think it's actually a frightening thing for a conductor, because it's that important. It can affect your entire interpretation on the piece and the sound of what you're getting back.
Timing is key. It's like a pulse of a human body, you know. So if you don't have a pulse, there's no heartbeat, there's nothing, you know. So obviously depends, like when you conduct, if depends which area you're conducting of time. So there's some specific indications, so that heartbeat or that pulse, you know, beat per minute.
A problem that I've been having recently with some recording has been in direct relation to tempo, where everything has been down tempo, and because of that there's been a certain kind of lethargy to the piece. So I've been purposely increasing tempo. I've been doubling things up, just so that. Just so that kind of so that energy's not lacking. So for me, it's just been upping tempo an awful lot recently.
So at the Globe, for instance, when we did the Oresteia, a community choir was supposed to sing, and they always got their timing wrong, always, at the rehearsals, because it was so hard for them to hear themselves, and it was really complicated in the space. So there's always other levels as well. They could perfectly sing it in the room, but never on stage because they couldn't hear the instrument. So it's all like these little details.
But I dare someone to try to do that and see if they enjoy the performance. I mean, there are so many things about music and the nuance of music and time that can make something so special. You think back at conductors who I really envy, one of them being Richard Strauss, who of course was also a really great composer. You listen to some of his recordings that he has on Beethoven symphonies, and he's clearly paced out time, and he knows about the structure of the symphony. But what he does in the development sometimes is, and more times than often, is he holds back the tempo ever so slightly just to give it a little bit of air, just to really explore and understand that. And then when you get back to the beginning subject, then it goes back to life. But it's something that's so small and so minute that if you didn't listen carefully the first time, you may not have caught it. But what it does is it aerates the music, and it gives it this different, wonderful color that, you know, if you just had a metronome marking going on the entire time, and it was just strict the entire time, you wouldn't get that nuance. You wouldn't get that sound.
And my thing was numbers, and this idea that music comes in these kind of pulses, and that the kind of rhythm of life has this same kind of thing. The way that I'm speaking to you right now, I have an interest in poetry as well, and the patter of words, and the way that sound arrives in these kind of like these pulses was really interesting to me, and it actually became quite a negative thing, like an intoxicating kind of thing, where for a long time, if I'm walking through the street, I'd be counting my footsteps in 4/4, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll stop at a traffic light and press the thing in like 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think it does change you. Yes, I think in that aspect, I think one can sometimes learn from a score to appreciate time a little bit more and appreciate what's going on in the world, in your surroundings. Sometimes, like today, when I'm studying for a very, very long period of time, going outside and, you know, thinking about this music and thinking about time and thinking about those small nuances, you notice, you know, you notice a little bit more the crack in the sidewalk, or you know, the certain paint color that you always pass these things, but you notice them differently. So yeah, I think it can affect your day-to-day life in general as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the actual performance, obviously, because everyone is at their best, everyone is the most focused, the most concentrated. And then just being able to, it's like painting, you know, you have this idea in your mind and you just suddenly can do whatever, you know? And it's really like that, and you can reach things you never thought you could, and it will sound magical. It's just bizarre.